Each time a bullet leaves the barrel of a gun, it not only pierces the body and the anatomy of an individual, it destroys the anatomy of our community, and it destroys lives.
A chilling murder captured on surveillance video. A teenager gunned down on the streets of Harlem. Corey Squire walked away from a dispute and tried to cut his ties with the infamous Bloods gang. But when you're tangled in gang life, it's not that easy. Real scenes like this play out in cities throughout the nation when kids are influenced by gangs and street crime.
We got a message for y'all. It's too much going on in our communities, and we're tired, and we can't let everybody know. We think it's time to lay the guns down. Too many people getting killed in the streets these days.
We're talking with one person one day and the next day they're dead, and like we're losing another friend, a family member, like.
Seems the same problem with almost every chief that I talk to across the country. Gangs, guns, drugs, youth violence. And we've got to find a way to reduce that. If we don't, we're going to lose a generation of young people.
A little over a mile from here, a young 10-year-old girl, Kathina Thomas, playing in the street, very near her family, was
murdered at the age of 10 by a bullet that traveled more than a block, a stray bullet that came out of the barrel of a, quote, community gun.
So that family will never have young Kathina Thomas. It also has ruined the life of a young man, not yet 20, who will spend at least the next 15 years in jail.
That young man he mentioned who is in prison for at least 15 years was 15 when this incident occurred. Multiple tragedies on our streets.
We cannot lose another youngster. I cannot face another mother or parent because of the loss of a child without saying to them, we are taking an action, not just words of comfort.
New York leaders are arming neighborhoods with resources to stop the bloodshed. $4 million from this year's state budget was allocated to support meaningful anti-gun violence programs.
This is money that will save lives. This is money that will prevent us from ever having to see another Christopher Owen.
We want to have a tremendous impact on young people who are involved in dealing with guns, shooting, and killing. This program, Operation SNUG, which is guns spelled backwards, was born out of tragic shootings.
This initiative brings together the government, law enforcement, and community outreach to motivate high-risk youth to plan for a future. Organizations applying for these funds are required to provide opportunities to keep kids off the streets, teach effective decision-making strategies, and career skills.
Microsoft agreed that they will provide software and perhaps even some hardware.
I'm not going to make everyone read the 300-page study from Northwestern University, but I'm telling you, it's been used in cities all around the country, in Chicago and North Carolina and Providence, Rhode Island.
The funding for this initiative will be directed at cities hit by gang violence: Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany, parts of New York City, and Westchester. Since the beginning of this year, in Yonkers alone, there have been at least 25 violent firearm incidents.
It is aimed at identifying the most likely people to be shooters and the most likely people to be shot, which sadly tend to be people in the same community, poor young men and women enmeshed in cycles of gang violence.
Operation SNUG is modeled after Chicago's Project for Violence Prevention, Ceasefire. New York's advancement will provide Ceasefire with federal funding to help develop anti-violence outreach in the state of New York at no cost.
Ceasefire really is about folks working together to change the behavior that leads to violence, to change the norms that make violence an acceptable way of responding when you don't get your needs met, when you're angry at someone, when you feel you've been insulted.
He found his father's gun, and so he decided he was going to go for a walk. Everybody thought everything was okay, so he just walked, and then they found him, and he committed suicide.
My dad's a cop, and a couple of his friends got shot recently, and they survived, but it shows that the guy got an illegal gun.
Safe havens will be created through Operation SNUG so young New Yorkers can stay away from illegal and reckless gun usage and gangs.
You have a lot of households today where both parents are working, and unfortunately that means that there's no supervision.
Provide a lot of the grassroots anti-violence groups with some resources and some support.
While one might look at one of my colleagues here a young person and say, well, what do you know? What have you experienced on the street? We think ex-offenders can relate to them even better. And that's why that is a crucial part.
We're taking some unique approaches, and one of the approaches that we're taking is this hip-hop magazine, which is Read to Succeed. And the hip-hop community is stepping up and being involved.
We do have celebrities such as LL Cool J, Russell Simmons, and them who have offered support.
How are they our future if they're killing off each other? So I think that it's important that we reach out to them.
Michael Tucker is a mentor to kids in Brooklyn who have been impacted by guns.
I have a group of young individuals that's called The Block that came together to do a gun violence album so we could go out and minister to the kids and tell them about this epidemic.
That album, Lay the Guns Down, will be available on cdbaby.com. Proceeds will be used to educate families about gun violence.
I was fortunate to do some public service announcement with Tuck from the New York Giants.
To tell a friend that it's time for us to lay the guns down.
Operation SNUG will use celebrities and recreation centers to entice teens away from the pressures of street life. Other local organizations will also create valuable programs designed to reduce violent acts.
Focuses more on, resisting those gang temptations, being a leader, not a follower. Gangs, guns, all that other stuff, it only becomes attractive when kids have nothing else to focus on.
We recognize the importance at the local level of creating a positive opportunity for young people so they will not look to the gangs for comfort and support.
We understand that those who suffer violence or gang violence in Brooklyn, they feel it in Buffalo. Those who feel gang violence and guns, illegal guns in Suffolk County, they feel it in Westchester.
More and more people are dying every day.
He found his father's gun. They found him and he committed suicide.
It doesn't just affect one person, it affects everybody.
Families that are being destroyed every day.
We think it's time to lay the guns down. Too many people getting killed in the streets these days.